Hey guys, finally getting around to putting up another video. I just wanted to say before we get into the stories that I'm feeling a lot better health-wise. So hopefully we can get back to posting videos half regularly. It'll probably be a little slow getting back into the groove at the start, but I'd like to try to get to the point where we're doing a video a week or so. Maybe sprinkle some shorts in there throughout. For this video, I found some scary urban legends that did the rounds in the early 2000s. They were stories that were passed along via email to warn people about potential dangers. You've probably heard a few of them. You might have heard all of them. But I always think it's interesting just hearing somebody else tell the stories or hearing different interpretations of them. So hopefully you'll enjoy. If you like what you hear today, please feel free to give it a like. And if you see a red button down there somewhere, I think that means you're not subscribed. It would really mean a lot if you could, give it a little poke. It gives me a notification, and it really makes my day. I'm extremely thankful for everybody sticking around, those who did. I know it's been a while since I put out a video, but hopefully we're back. I see I got about 30 new subscribers since I stopped posting, so if you're still here, welcome. If you see this video and you're like, oh, I don't remember subscribing to this guy, then I'm sorry to see you go, but hopefully you'll stick around. Oh, and I just wanted to say that I recorded 2 of the stories probably a week ago, and my voice was a mess from all the stuff going on, some health issues that came up in case you didn't see the last video. So if they sound a little bit rough, I apologize. That would be the illness. But yeah, anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Hopefully you enjoy the stories, and I'll see you in the next one. The Smith Sisters. It's a scary urban legend about 2 young girls who were murdered anonymously while they slept in their bedroom. There was a boy named John Smith who lived in Plainsfield, Wisconsin. He was very fond of those scary emails and pop-up videos of the early 2000s. You know, the car driving, the aerial view, goes behind a couple trees and scary lady face pops out of nowhere. Well, every day he'd find new ones and send them to everybody he knew. He even started making some himself. One day, in November 2007, he opened up his inbox and found a weird message that appeared to be from 2 young girls. They called themselves the Smith Sisters and told him that they were his older sisters, which confused him because he was an only child. They also said that years ago they used to live in his house. He replied to the email saying that he didn't actually have any sisters and told them to get lost and leave him alone. The next day, however, he received a chilling message with some photos attached. The first photo was of 2 young girls. The caption on it read, "Smith Sisters, murdered anonymously." In the email, the girls said that they were indeed his older sisters. And they told him that in 1993, they'd lived in his house. His bedroom had once been their bedroom, and they told him all about growing up and about their lives and how happy they'd been until one horrible night. He opened up the other attachment. It was a scan of an old newspaper article. It read, "In 1993, two sisters were brutally murdered in the small town community of Plainsfield, Wisconsin. Lisa Smith, 19, and her sister, Sarah Smith, 15, were attacked in their parents' home on the night of November 17th, around 1:30 a.m. The Smith sisters were laying in bed when a crazed killer broke into the house. No one heard them scream. In the morning, their parents found the bodies of the Smith sisters hidden in the bedroom closet. They had been skinned alive. The killer was long gone, and no trace of him could be found. They had been murdered anonymously. Police conducted an extensive investigation, but to no avail. The motives for the attack were never discovered, nor was the attacker ever found. The only lead the authorities had was a series of strange emails found on Lisa's computer. The case was closed in October of 2000. In the rest of the email, the sisters said that they were angry that the case was closed and that people forgot about them. They were angry that their parents wanted to forget about them too. They were angry that their parents decided to start over and have a new baby, a little boy named John. They were angry that the parents had never mentioned their daughters or their tragic murder to their new son, John. So John, being John, he sent an angry email back saying he didn't believe what they were saying. He didn't believe the Smith sisters were real or that they were related to him, and he didn't believe the newspaper article was real. He just told them to go to hell. 5 minutes later, he got another email from them. It said, "If you don't believe us, look in the closet." And that was the last email found on John's computer. Police were unable to trace who had sent the messages to him. On the floor of the closet, the police found a faint message carved in the wood. It simply read, "Lisa and Sarah Smith, 1993. Underneath that was another carving that read, "John, 2007. No one knows what John did next, but in the morning, John's parents woke up to find their son missing. Then they checked his bedroom closet and got the shock of their lives. There, they found the dead body of their son. He too had been skinned alive. No one really knows what happened that night. Police were only able to piece together parts of the story based on what they found on John's computer. The parents were devastated. How could this happen to their family? First, their daughters were murdered, and now years later, their son's murdered the exact same way, in the exact same place. It seemed too weird to be just a coincidence. The only evidence left behind is a few scary emails. It really does make you wonder. This next one, I'm sure we're all familiar with. It's about a woman home alone when she hears something strange from outside her window. A few years ago, an email did the rounds, warning people about a cunning serial killer who used a terrifying trick to lure his victims out of the safety of their home and into his clutches. One night, a middle-aged woman was sitting at home. Her husband worked nights, which meant that she was often alone in the house. It was getting late, and she was about to go to bed when she heard this strange noise outside her window. It sounded like a crying baby, and it seemed to be coming from the bushes outside her front door. She thought it was weird, but she was tempted to go outside and investigate. Just then, her dog jumped to its feet and began barking and growling at the door. She stopped in her tracks and decided to call the police instead. When she told them what she'd heard, the police said, "We'll be right over. Whatever you do, do not open your door." The lady hung up the phone, and minutes later she heard the sound of sirens as 2 police cars pulled into her driveway. One policeman banged on her door, while the others searched the bushes outside her house. The woman opened the front door and let the policeman in. He was holding a doll in his arms, and she noticed that there was a tape recorder in its belly. The policeman pressed play, and they both heard the sound of a baby crying. He explained that there was a serial killer on the loose who was targeting women who were home alone at night. He used a cunning trick to fool women into opening their front doors and coming outside. He'd hide in the bushes and play the tape. While they were looking for the source of the cries, the killer would emerge from the bushes and get them. He said in the past few days they'd received several calls from women saying that they heard babies crying outside their homes when they were alone at night. The killer had already murdered 2 women in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and if it hadn't been for her dog warning her of the danger, she might have become the 3rd victim. While the police have never actually come across a real-life case like this, the email was inspired by an episode of America's Most Wanted. It theorized that a serial killer in Louisiana may have been using a crying baby to lure out his victims. Years later, an episode of Criminal Minds also mentioned a serial killer using a baby to lure out his victims. The Mall. It's a scary urban legend about a madman who lurks under cars of busy shopping malls and slashes women's ankles. It's also known as the man under the car, the slasher under the car, the mall slasher, and the ankle slasher. One evening, a woman was leaving a busy shopping center. Her car was parked in the dark area of the parking lot. Carrying bags full of groceries, she walked to her car and fumbled for her keys. Suddenly, she felt a searing pain at her ankles and fell to the ground, writhing in agony. Just then, a man crawled out from under the car. He was clutching a bloody knife in his hands. He had cut her Achilles tendon, and she lay helpless on the ground, unable to walk. He stole her purse, her keys, and her car, and drove off, leaving the poor woman screaming in pain. In the late 1970s, this legend began to spread around America. Fears about the mall slasher were so prevalent that the police department had to set up a helpline. In the first week, they received hundreds of calls. Rumors began spreading that criminal gangs were attacking women by cutting their ankles to render them helpless, and then cutting off one of their limbs. They said that in order to join the gang, the criminal had to show the leader a severed limb they'd taken from a victim. However, the slasher is just an urban myth. Police have never come across a case like this, and criminal gangs don't do this kind of thing. You don't have to worry about criminals lurking under your car, but you do have to be careful in mall parking lots, because there have been a few cases where women were abducted while getting into their cars. There was also a case in 2007 when a man in Virginia was arrested and sentenced to 7 years in prison. They called him the butt slasher. He would sneak up behind people at busy malls and shopping centers and slashed their butts with a knife before disappearing into the crowd. None of the attacks caused serious injuries, but some victims required medical attention and were left with permanent scars. So, next time you're at the mall, just remember to watch your butt. That's 3 scary stories for you. I hope you enjoyed. I know they're not the scariest ones. You might have heard 1 or 2 of them before, but hopefully you found it entertaining nonetheless. If you like what you heard, feel free to give the video a like. It really helps me out. And then if you want to follow me on Twitter, I've actually been getting really into it over the past few weeks that I've been off. I haven't been able to use my voice as much, so I've been having fun making GIFs and sharing VHS art for old horror movies and such. And yeah, I think that'll do it. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.